Okay, welcome. My name is Mike Hogan. I'm the moderator for this panel. We are at CALLERLAB 2011 in Las Vegas, Nevada, and this particular session is called Target Marketing. I'm going to start by introducing the two gentlemen that are here to talk about a couple of different topics, and I'm also going to just kind of tell you kind of the guidelines here. Okay, first of all, to my right is Ken Ritucci. I've got that correct, right? And Ken is from West Springfield, Massachusetts. He's been calling 37 years. He's a member of the Board of Governors of CALLERLAB, and he's an accredited caller coach. Please welcome Ken Ritucci. On my left is John Herr, and John is currently the Vice Chairman of Roundalab. John and Karen, who I think is here. Anyway, John and Karen have been queuing and teaching rounds now for 22 years, and John and Karen are from Larkspur, which is basically Denver, Colorado. So, John, welcome. I'm Mike Hogan, and I am the chairman of the marketing committee for CALLERLAB. And I also have, in my real life, like we all have real lives, I actually am a professional marketer. I work for a company called Journal Broadcast Group, and we have radio, television, newspaper, a lot of internet, and kind of a variety of smaller businesses. So I work with businesses on a regular basis, primarily using radio, but we use that marketing to help a lot of other folks. Today's topic is target marketing, and each of these gentlemen have kind of different targets, but they've had some successes with some various programs that they've used. I'll let them talk about who they're trying to reach and the systems that they're using, and I want you guys, as you're thinking about target marketing, the whole idea of target marketing is about reaching a specific type of person. So I'll let them tell you about that, and then we'll just kind of take turns, and we're going to start with Ken.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I'm taking a little bit of a different turn. This is somewhat similar to the presentation I did last year here at CALLERLAB, was on marketing. We have a great panel here, and we want to sort of pick our strengths. And my strengths mainly for marketing is marketing callers to dancers. But I do want to talk briefly about marketing for new dancers in the school system. I don't call regularly in the school systems. I know we have Mike Callahan, member of CALLERLAB, and several others who do an excellent job. They actually do this. I think Mike does it full time during the day. But one of the things that's becoming sort of popular, I see, in the state of New Jersey, they're actually going to try it this fall, is for those of us in the dance activity, there's what's become popular is what we call blasts or blitz weekends, where you take a certain program, such as, let's say, it's Plus or A Advanced or something, or Challenge, and you do a weekend where you cram in as much as you can or possibly teach the whole program in one weekend, and dancers will sign up and go to it. It's mentally taxing. It's not meant to make them proficient dancers at that particular program. It's more of an exposure. But one thing that New Jersey's doing, I think it's very interesting, from what I've heard, and I've seen other areas starting to think about it, is thinking out of the box of how to try to get dancers or potential brand new dancers into our activity, is doing sort of like a blitz weekend for mainstream or basic and mainstream program, where you take people to sign up for a weekend and you teach them square dance. You teach them our basic and hopefully through our mainstream program in the course of a weekend. Now, does that make them proficient dancers to go out and dance in your existing programs? I'd have to say no. But if you can capture 4, 5, 6 squares of these people that come in, maybe you maintain or you retain about 2 or 3 squares of them, and then that they can sort of filter out into the activity, into joining some of the clubs. And I thought that was a pretty unique thing to do. I'm sort of an advocate on the existing square dance scene as far as blitzes, because I tend to run my own, and for the most part they've been very successful. But like anything else, you can't do them all the time. You'll sort of wipe out an area. You can't constantly do a certain program blitz in your own area because you're just going to run out of dancers that are going to be able to fill the weekend. But I thought it was really interesting that a group in New Jersey, I think it's sponsored by the Jersey Dancer Association, and they're going to have a caller to teach it, to try a square dance blitz weekend. And I thought that was pretty, I was really intrigued by that. And it's given me some ideas of possibly trying one on my own because my immediate area is very down right now in square dancing. We've lost a lot of clubs, and we need some new dancers. We need some new blood. So I thought that was interesting. The other subject that I sort of want to talk about is what I feel I do best. I'm not an expert in marketing square dancing to the public. There's people here that you're going to hear that are much better and much more knowledgeable than I am. But I feel pretty comfortable in helping callers try to help market themselves to our existing dance population. And some of the ways is pretty obvious. As we see new callers come through, we try to get them educated in the realm of everything. They come into this activity. They have to understand that if they're serious about it, they're going to be entering into a sort of a new business to be treated as a business. So they have to understand the business side of calling, which includes record keeping and taxes and you're going to have to state your income. You're going to have to state your expenses. So that's all new taxes that are going to have to be filled out. But I try to help the callers. I get asked lots of times, well, how do you get work? How do you get started? How do you get known? It's a lot of hard work. I wish you can just flip a switch and every caller, every queuer in this activity could be as busy as they want to be and do what they want to do. But it's just not that easy. I think the main question we all have to ask ourselves when we enter into this type of activity from this side of the desk, meaning calling or queuing or contra leading or whatever we do to lead dancers, is that we have to decide really what do we want to be when we grow up. What type of caller or queuer do you want to be? I can speak mainly for the callers, of course. What do you want to be? Do you want to just have a little home program? Do you just want to be able to teach fun nights? I get asked many times by dancers who will say, I might be interested in coming to one of your caller schools or something, but I don't really know if I really want to be a caller. I just like to teach our class or help instruct people. Or maybe I just want to, they say something like, I just want to do fun nights. I just want to go out to the churches and things and get people more interested in the activity and see if they're interested in going further. I can steer them in a different direction. So there's always something to be learned at these types of schools. And it's more important that the individual really realize within themselves what they want to do, because they'll probably won't be disappointed then if they try to reach for something that they ultimately may not hit, and then they get discouraged and maybe leave the activity, and we certainly don't want that. I firmly believe there's room for all types of callers in our activity, whether they're festival callers, traveling callers, local callers, whatever callers do, there's a need for all of them. The usual things I tell them is get a set of business cards, put on the business card what you feel you want to do, party nights, one-night stands. If that's your specialty, that's what you want to do, then that's how you promote yourself. Advertising, I'm a firm believer in advertising. You look at a corporation such as McDonald's, you think, why does McDonald's have to advertise? Everywhere you go, by the time the kid's 3 years old, they're asking for McDonald's. Yet they're constantly advertising, aren't they? And they're very successful. And you look at some of these bigger corporations that we live in this world, they're constantly advertising, even though their names are second to nature to us. I'm a firm believer in advertising. Put the name out. You never know when something's going to happen, especially if people see the name in print. Be active in your association, not only as a caller, but be active in the Dancer Association. Be willing to do things such as donate your time to either benefit dances or demonstrations and things like that. The dancer associations are working more and more closely with the callers nowadays because we're all searching out there in our market to try to get new people into our activity. So I always tell the callers, don't be afraid to work closely with your dancers association. And the last thing is basically know your limitations. As a square dance caller, as anything, we all have limitations. We're all going to be something. We're all going to reach a certain level and a plateau. And be comfortable with your limitation. There's nothing wrong with whatever a square dance caller does in this activity, whether it's just party nights, fun nights. Everybody in their own way contributes overall to our activity, no matter how big or how small it is. So be comfortable in what you do. Don't be afraid to do it. And don't be afraid that if you're serious enough that you're going to have to spend some money in this activity. The old adage, you have to spend money to make money. And not only on advertising, but also on the equipment that a caller would have to get, and the time and the effort, the hall rental, the food, whatever you're going to do to make your venue successful, you're going to have to put some skin in the game. There's no free lunch. And I encourage anybody that is serious about this that they're going to have to get some bumps along the road, but they're going to have to be tough-skinned as well, because not everything is going to go the way we want. That's just a little bit of information. I'll probably add some more things as they come up later, but I certainly want to hear the other speakers as well.
Does anybody have any immediate questions that you want to hit him with regarding, and you're talking specifically about marketing yourself as a caller or as a queuer to dancers? Anybody have anything right off the top of their head they want to hit? Okay, we'll come back to it. You can certainly ask all kinds of questions at the end if you'd like to. Okay, John?
Okay, thank you. We have some handouts. I'd like to, could somebody help me get these out, please? Okay.
Are there 3 of them? Or?
Those are stapled. These are not stapled. Okay.
Are they all the same?
They're all the same.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Just take a few out.
Oh, I see.
And these, yeah, and this is another separate handout. I don't have enough for everybody because there's over 20 pages in it. I didn't know how many to make. Now, what I have here, so if you can share. Now, you'll notice some of this looks sort of funny. It's sort of squeezed onto a page. So it looks better on the website than it does on the page. Yes. Okay, I'll get started now. Quick little history of what happened. Just as in CALLERLAB, in Roundalab, we wanted to create a method or a tool that would bring us new dancers into our movement. And so we decided that we would build a web page, a website. And we did that at significant cost, and significant cost also to maintain it. And we still don't have all the features on it that we would like to have. And so this has become somewhat of an issue, the expense of the site. Another issue is that we hired an organization to do it, to build the site. And so therefore, we're not sure whether we really own the code or not. If we want to change it, we don't really have access to it. We have to ask that company to do it. And so it would have been, there were reasons why we did that at the time, but we've learned quite a few lessons. And so I specifically have learned quite a few lessons from what has happened over the past few years. And so over the Christmas holidays, I had nothing to do. I was just bored. So I decided I have 42 years of software development experience. I thought, well, I'll take a crack at it and just see if I can learn from the things that we've learned from our current site. So I got permission from the appropriate people, and I started putting something together. And this is what I'm going to show you is what I came up with. Before I actually get into that site, I'm going to show you something else first. What I wanted to do is I wanted to create a website, personal website, just for me, that would attract people to a special dance. At that special dance, then, I would try to encourage them to start coming to our classes. So what I did is I created this site here. I called it a social dance sampler. Oh, I need some more history here I left out. And that is, I didn't do this all on my own. This started off with Nasser Shukar out of Texas. He was going into Google Ads, which I'm going to explain later, and advertising his website that he created. And he was very successful in bringing people out. He was out in Denver just a couple of weeks ago, and I got a chance to corner him again, saying, well, now how's it going after you've done your first couple of those, and you've done quite a few now? What is your analysis of success? And he says, basically, I pay $40 for every new couple that I get in. It costs me $40. Okay, is that worth it? Oh, certainly to me. Okay, basically 4 nights or less, the expense is paid for. So I thought that was well worth it. So Bear Miller was the next one who took a lesson from Nasser, and he put up his own website, went out and used a different technique, which I'm also going to discuss later, and he brought in about 15 couples, and he lost 3, and basically ended up with 12 new couples. And so he was very successful in his effort. So that's what I learned from was Bear and Nasser, and I created this website here. And so I put on a special night, and I used Google Ads to advertise the event. Things are very slow here. I've got a very weak internet connection through this building. Okay? But you can see the kind of stuff we're saying here. Expert instructors, entertainers, learn cha-cha and merengue in one night. You know, look at what you can do if you come to this thing. Picture of us there. If you want to see what round dancing is, you can actually, I don't think the video will play in this room here, but you can see that video right there. Gives you a little sample of people dancing. Now, one of the objectives, one of the things we learned was don't put... It's working. Okay, a little bit. Don't put videos that come up and automatically run. It slows everything down. And so we put it up there. If they want to run it, then they can run it. Okay? So they can get their sample of what they're going after. We don't want to fool them. Sometimes some leaders want to camouflage what we do by giving it another name. I would rather use the real name and convince them that it really is the thing they want to do. Okay? If they want to know more about what dancing is, there's places on the page here where they can go to other pages and see what's going on. So this is all my site. And here I have a little resume of our background so they can read about us and what they're getting as instructors. And on the left-hand side, they can fill out the form. If they click down here on Make Reservation, an email will be sent to them confirming that they're coming. And an email will be sent to me, giving me their names and all that information so I can maintain a good list. So that just before the dance, I can then send them out emails to remind them of the event they've signed up for. So that was my initial effort. Now next, now I'm get back to my Christmas vacation when I had nothing to do. And I decided, well, let's see if I can take these lessons and take them a step further and write a site for the entire Roundalab. So now you'll have to translate everything from round dance to square dance, okay? And there's quite a few changes you'd have to do to something like this. But if you like what you see here after I show this to you, I'd be willing to give the code to you. and you can change it and adapt it to square dancing. You know, I'm not charging Round a Lab for this. I just love doing this stuff. Okay? So, this is the front page that whatever advertising we use would bring them to this site here. That's our slogo, combination logo and slogan, slogo, okay, that we adapted for the organization. We got some really cool, it's hard to see on this wall here, and it's hard to see on the paper, we got some really cool menus in the way they work. Someone mentioned yesterday about not using Flash, and this is Flash. And one of the reasons I went ahead and used Flash is because Flash is now coming onto all of your latest phones and stuff. At first it wasn't there, but it's coming, and most of them have it now. So this is all available on your phone. Okay? This is another Flash thing here where it says dancing to cues is cool, an activity for all ages. So that's Flash material, just dynamic stuff. We have menus on the top. We have menus on the side. So no matter where they are on the page, they have an option to take some action. Okay? And for example, right here, you want to see a sample round dance video, you can go there and look at those. If you want to sign up, go find an instructor for a class, that's right there in front of you, right in the middle. There's at least 3 different places on this page that try to get them to go get an instructor and go to a class. Now, what you're seeing in your handout is a squashed version of this. If you, on the right-hand side, and this stuff has not been approved by Round a Lab at all. This is what I'm going to propose in June to Round a Lab to see if they're interested in doing this. But on the right-hand side, we have advertising. So we may or may not do this. But if you have videos in your organization that you want to sell, or if you want to bring in a few bucks from your own members that are doing certain things, mine says there, if you want to build a website, come and see me. Okay, I just put these up for fun. They're meaningless. I went out and found Glide shoes and just stuck them in there. They don't even know I did it. Okay, so, but that's another option we could have to make a few bucks into the organization. Okay, and plus, if dancers are coming here, they may want to go buy some shoes. Okay, so it's something else to attract them to come in here and use the site. Down here, you'll see find an instructor again. And above that, we show various samples of rhythms. Well, what is cha-cha? What is bolero? What is two-step? All that kind of stuff. Or if you want to show what is plus, what is, what is contra, what is, all kinds of stuff, you could do the same thing up there. So if you were to click on find an instructor, I would say, okay, I'm in Colorado, and I want to find an instructor there. So it comes up with a list of instructors that are giving beginners classes. Now, here's where I'm going to make the point of targeting my audience. My target, I have 2 targets. One is to bring in new dancers who have never danced before. This is not a tool to let my dancers know when I'm going to have my next class. Okay? It's only a tool to bring in brand new people off the street. Okay? My second target is that this is targeted towards dance leaders who actually are serious enough to put in a little bit of work. They have to go to Google Ads, or they have to go to the newspaper, or they have to go to Facebook, or et cetera, and do a little bit of work of advertising to get people to come to this site. But if the teacher signs up on this site, then when the prospective student comes in, they're going to see those serious leaders who are going to have a class at a specific time, date, and place. Okay? Any questions about this so far? Okay. Now, if I click on sign up for John and Karen's class, there in golden, this is what the student will see, the prospective student. There's the class he's about to sign up for with our explanation. And there's that form you saw on my own personal site, okay, with all that same information and with emails going out to both me and to them. Okay, let's see now. So that's sort of the student perspective. Now let's go back to home and take a look at the instructor's perspective. So here at the bottom, we put all this code onto RoundaLab's own server. By doing that, we had access to the official database of RoundaLab. So now we can actually check user ID and passwords against this, so only our instructors will come in. So I'm going to go ahead and enter that. So now I'm an instructor. I've never been on this site before. Here's some instructions for me. And it says, if you're going to have a class, fill out this information. So that's the information that will show up when the student comes in. Okay? So only those instructors that have actually gone through this process will have their class shown up. One of the problems we had with the other site that RoundaLab created was that people could come into the site and they wanted to go to a class, but the teachers they looked up there weren't given a class. You know, it had their name there, but they're not given a class. They only teach in September, and this person was signing up in April. And it just created quite a big of a problem for us to work that out. And so we said, okay, well, let's just educate our membership that they need to have year-round classes or something. Well, that's not going to work, you know. So that's the reason I created this, is so that we're tailored totally to a very specific class that an instructor wants to give. Now, after he has signed up, the student has signed up for that class, as an instructor, I come in and I say, oh, these are all the people that signed up. I now have a list. In other words, I'm doing management of your class for you. So there's a complete list, all dummy information in there mostly. Okay? And it says I've got 28 students enrolled in my class. So now you have just everything you need, email addresses, phone numbers, everything you need in order to work with your prospective students. Now, that's the heart of this site. Now, you've seen, 4 or 5 pages, or 6, something like that. There's lots of other pages. We can go to for sale, and we have, RoundaLab sells videos. So if people want to, anybody, doesn't have to be a RoundaLab member, anybody who wants to come in and learn how to dance and they just want to buy the videos, they can come in, and this will send them right over to the RoundaLab site to purchase videos. So it also helps our organization in sales of stuff. So this is side stuff, okay? And there's a lot of side stuff on here. These are the kinds of things RoundaLab's going to have to make decisions on to whether or not they really want all this paraphernalia on there or not. We may want to take all the garbage off and just make it straight simple. We don't know yet. So I'm just putting this out as a possible proposal to RoundaLab and to you. Okay? This testimonials, I really like this. So I can click on, here's Mitchell. Some of you know Mitchell, our young cure in Denver.
Socialize and meet new people, and of course you're having fun while you're doing it too.
Okay, so I tried to do everything I could think of. I tried to do everything I could think of to entice people to get involved. Now, our old site does have some testimonials on it also. Let's see. We have frequently asked questions. We have organizations that you can contact that are Round Dance associated. and etc. So that's pretty much it on that part of it. Let me see what else I have here now. Oh, yes. Now, I told you I was going to tell you a little bit about Google. A lot of people are scared of Google. And so what I've done on one of the pages, and you have a sample part of that printout, is I said, okay, it is a little complicated. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you step by step what to do, and it's on the website, and it explains what this is all about. Okay? And it tells you to go in there and create a bunch of keywords. Now, you've heard about that in our yesterday's meeting, okay, about keywords. And that takes a little skill to build that set so that they actually are the right kinds of words that people are going to type into Google. And so I learned from Nasser and I learned from Bear, and then I made some adjustments for round dancing, and that's how I came up with my list. Now I have now learned even more. Now that I've done one campaign on Google, you can see there, this is the number of impressions. Now what that means is, we had 90,000. If a person goes to Google and types in dance lesson, okay, and if my ad that I've created in Google comes up anywhere, not on the front page, but it just comes up in part of the search results, that's called an impression. Okay? So lots of impressions come up, but of course the people don't see that many at all. Okay? They usually only see what's on the first, maybe the second page. So it's far less than that. What's important is the number of clicks right here, 218. So there were actually 218 times that a visitor to Google clicked on my ad and went to my site automatically when he clicked on it. Okay? And out of those 218 clicks, I ended up with about 5 people. Karen? Oh, yes. These charts and everything are just amazing. They give you a lot of information. So it gives you the date. Basically, I did it just over a week's time. This is how many clicks I had on this day. That's how many clicks. That's how many clicks. That's how many clicks on each day. It tells you exactly what days people do their clicks. Question?
Mike Hogan. Yeah, my question when you say on your ad, I know when you created your website, and you end up with there's 2 different types of ads when you get into Google, and I think I may, as I'm thinking out the question, I may know it, but if somebody does a search on Google and searches for dance lessons, there's a list, and if you look at the bottom, there's like 8,325 results. Well, the Google searches both by keywords and by geography. So if you're in Denver, Colorado, you're probably not going to get a dance lesson in Omaha, Nebraska that'll show up on that first page. It's probably one of those 8 million, but it's not going to show up on the first page. Now, what you're getting is something other than just a listing that showed up. You're getting an actual ad that you purchased, so that it comes up. Because what will happen is when you go onto the site and you Google something, the first 2 or 3 usually have like a different color, like a tan-colored background to them or something like that. They've paid to land on that first page. What the contract itself, as I understand it, is that you didn't actually pay a fee yet to land on that page. You agreed to pay a certain amount if someone clicks through, and they're going to put you on that page in hopes that you'll get enough click-throughs that they can send you a bill for $113, right? Can you go through a little bit about how that works?
So when the person comes to Google, types in dance lesson, gets a search result, on the right-hand side there is a column, a narrow column, and those are paid-for ads. The ones on the left-hand side, the larger area, those were just automatically, you don't have to pay for those at all. Okay? So if a person goes over to the right-hand column, clicks on the one you created, you have to pay for every click. Now, what's cool about this is that you can determine how much you pay for that click. Okay? If you're going to pay 10 cents for it and somebody else has that same keyword, then you are competing with that person for the placement on that page. So I said I'm paying $1.15 per click. Okay? Well, it turns out I had very few competitors. So I only ended up paying less than 50 cents per click. So Google manages all that complicated stuff. You just say, what's my maximum? And what's nice about that maximum is I'm saying, okay, I can choose a maximum amount for the click, and I can choose a maximum amount per day. So if I say my maximum per day is $10, then once I've reached a $10 limit, no more of my ads show up. So I will never be charged any more than $10 a day. And that gives you tremendous control over how much you want to invest in this effort. Yes?
Eric Hennerlock, Court of Madera, California. It occurs to me the more selective you make that string that you're going to pay for that ad, the fewer competitors you'll have and the lower your cost per click. So if you wanted the string Dance Lessons Denver, you might get far fewer competitors, or Dance Lessons Larkspur, or something like that. You get far fewer, and then you're going to pay far less per click, right?
There's something even better than that, the point you're making, and that is that when you go in and create your account and create a campaign under that account, you can say, and Mike mentioned it, a geographical area. My dance hall is located here, and I don't want anybody to answer my ads unless they're within 30 miles of my dance hall. Okay? Only people within that area. I don't know how Google does that. Okay? Pretty amazing. But only those people who are able to travel to that dance hall will see my ad. So I don't get a bunch of extraneous clicks. Does that answer your question?
Roy Got in New Jersey. I think I heard you correct, but I'm not sure. Let's say you said you were willing to pay $1.15 per click. And let's say your selected words were so selective that you had no competitors. Does then Google have like a minimum amount that you have to pay per click, and you would only have to pay that amount? You wouldn't have to pay the $1.15. But if other people were bidding for it, let's say somebody had bid 50 cents, then you would pay just a little more than that 50 cents, and Google does all of that. Cool.
That is correct. Isn't that neat? I mean, Google has put a lot of effort into making this system usable. And yes, it is a little complicated, and it'll be a little overwhelming, but if you just go through what I've put on the site, it'll tell you what decisions to make in each step through. Okay, now, yes?
Brian Jarvis from Washington, D.C. Google also has a very neat setup feature when you're in the process of creating your account and selecting your keywords. It will tell you in advance before you commit how many hits you are likely going to get, how many impressions you will likely get in your geographical area with your choice of keywords, with a maximum amount that you're willing to bid. It'll give all that to you in advance before you have to hit the commit button and start paying.
Now, the reason I didn't mention that, it's good information. The reason I didn't mention is because there's all kinds of stuff Google will help you with in making better and better decisions. Okay?
I just wanted to make Dennis Clark from Indianapolis. I just wanted to make a quick point, and I brought up Facebook ads yesterday in the meeting, but Facebook, from the research I've done for their ads in there, the ads in there are ads to click on, and they work very, very similar to the way that Google does theirs.
And that's what I wanted to bring up next. Google is not the only way to do this. Okay, there we have lots of tools that we can use to get people to go to your site. Okay, and Facebook is one of the biggest ones now, probably overtaking Google. And I'm just now learning. Karen's just really getting into that right now, and so she's my leader on Facebook at the moment. But also, you have received, some of you received a handout, a second handout, and Bear Miller wrote that up for me. And it's all about newspaper coupons. And he's had significant success. That's how he got those 12 couples, was through a newspaper coupon. And I won't go all the details. You can read that. But my point is, lots of different ways. Twitter and all the other things can help you get people. We got some from our Facebook. We got some from our Google ads, etc., and from word of mouth and all the other means. And we had almost no room whatsoever to fill it. We had our hall filled for our big night. I think that's just about it. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Anybody else have a quick question for John? Or a long question for John, as it were?
Carolyn Goucher from Belton, Missouri. Question is, if we didn't get your handout, can we have that information emailed to us or what?
The quick answer to that is we will make sure that if you want to email John, I'm sure he'll probably send it to you. I don't want to put you out on a limb there, but he might email it to you. But I know this. We'll make sure that the home office has all of the handouts, and they typically have all of those available off of their website. Okay, but that'll be a week or two after the convention before it's all set up.
Georgine from Washington State. John, would you talk about when you guys hung the sign logo out in front of your dance hall?
That was our first effort to bring people in. We created a 12-foot banner. 12 feet. That's wider than that section over there, okay? Yeah, pretty much. Almost the length of that table there. And in great big letters says, dance lessons $10. Oh, wait, let me put it this way. It said dance lessons phone number. And we got, what, 1 or 2 calls? None. Just very few phone calls. Then I added, we just said, well, let's just try something. Let's say dance lessons $10 and see what that does. And bingo, we got calls. It made all the difference in the world. It started bringing people off the street. So, yes.
I have to give him the caveat. John, would you tell them where your hall is located and where the freeway is located, okay?
Oh, that's not fair. It was in a very good spot.
Just real quick, I'm wondering if anyone has tried Groupon, the new electronics advertising, and whether or not they've had any success with that.
I believe Bear Miller mentions it in there. I believe he does. I don't know anything about it. But Groupon?
Yeah. Let me tell you about Groupon. We are seeing every day lots and lots and lots of sign-on to discount coupon opportunities. Okay, and Groupon is probably the best known right now, I suppose, but there are a bazillion of them. At our company does our own version of it. Each one of our radio and television properties does their own version of the thing. But the way Groupon works is they agree for you to sell a coupon that typically is going to be a half-price deal. Sometimes it's depending on what the setup is, it can vary, but typically it's a half-price deal. So if it's a $30 whatever you're selling, let's say we're going to sell a set of lessons for $100 a person. Let's just go with that. I don't know what you charge. Let's say that we're going to go with $100 for a set of lessons. So you're going to put on Groupon that you're going to sell a coupon that's good for a set of lessons that's valued at $100, and you're going to sell it to them for $50. Okay. What happens then is that $50, if somebody clicks on and buys that coupon, then Groupon keeps half of that $50 and gives you the other half of that $50. Okay? So now you're at $25 for a set of lessons that you might normally charge $100. Well, I don't think we're all so much about making money as we are basically covering the rent. So if you're set up to where you can sell that type of thing, you could contract with a Groupon or one of the many other types of discount coupon engines that are out there, and they all have a variety of options. Groupon gives you a discount after you've sold 500. Golly. And then there's another discount after 1,000 and so forth. Now, usually the groceries, or not the grocery stores, but like the large chain pizza stores, like a Pizza Hut might use something like that because they can honor that coupon anywhere. The one thing that you don't know about Groupon is that for every one offer that Groupon puts out, they decline 7. So what that means is if you go to Groupon and you want to sell your gift certificates, the great news is, well, it's not great news. The news would be that if none of your coupons sell, you don't owe Groupon a dime. If they do sell, you owe them $25. Now, if it's sold and somebody bought it for $50 and you get $25 and they keep $25, the hopes are that they'll show up. You don't have to write a check because they already collected the $50. They send you the $25. Okay? So hopefully those folks will show up. The challenge is going to be Groupon is going to look at the offer that you have and say, okay, if we'd offer a $100 gift certificate for round dance lessons or square dance lessons or contra lessons, do people want to buy this? And we're going to end up being one of those 7 that they turn away. So you may find that on the local level, if you go to see some of the local providers, you may be able to utilize that particular service. You also, of course, have to be, just in case you have amazing success, you have to be able to honor those coupons. If you do have over 500 sold, boy, what a world. So that's basically how that discount couponing stuff works. Questions on that? Okay. John?
So let me summarize by saying that when it's time for my next set of classes, I'm going to put my Google ads up for more than just 7 or 8 days. And I'm going to get my Facebook going stronger, and I'm put the banner up, and I'm going to have to find a bigger building. Thank you.
Eric Hennerlaw again. My question is, in the Groupon, has anybody done those discount things where you're selling you 50% off? Has anybody had any success doing it? Now, certainly, I want to get those 500 people in the door, don't get me wrong. But my question becomes, let's say setting everything else aside, you would have a certain rate that you're going to charge, X dollars per night per dancer for your beginner class. Would you offer that on a Groupon or any other type of discount deal at 2X so that the half X comes in as you can be? Because what's going to happen is somebody's going to come in and pay 50 cents a night for the first 10 weeks of class, and you're going to go to your regular $5 a night after that. They're going to say, wait, I was paying 50 cents a night before that. Would you inflate the price to get the half off so that by the time they get off the discount, they're going to be paying something close to that anyway as they continue on? Do you follow what I'm saying? Otherwise, there's going to be a big jump in fee for somebody who continues on.
We deal with this a lot with the clients that we're bringing on in Omaha on our sites. First of all, if you want it to sell, the lower the price tag, the faster it's going to sell. Okay. Obviously, we're looking for the Pizza Huts of the world, and the Sam and Louie's Pizza has been a big advertiser with us. Family Fun Center has been a big advertiser with us. Those kinds of businesses that are already, we're going to go to the theater. But if we can get a discount and get 2 tickets for the price of 1, I'm going to buy that all day long. So there's a part of it of where's the balance between how much do you really need the business and how much are you giving the business away for. So if you go, my concern would be you could double it because nobody out there really knows what we charge for square dance lessons. So if we charge $200 a person and then we discounted it to $100 a person, we would be getting what we actually normally would charge, and that's what they would be paying is what we normally charge, and we'd be doing it for half the price because we'd get $50 out of that. the higher the price tag, I'm afraid that the very less likely. You have the issue, first of all, of we're not getting a lot of people that want to buy our product, right? Then if we get enough that actually do want to buy the product, and I'm not saying it won't sell. I mean, it might. Sometimes people show up at our classes and we have no idea why, how they found out. And all of our efforts, it seems like none of those work, but people just showed up anyway. There is sort of a movement right now, I think, of people that are looking for less expensive things to do, a little more safe environment, a lot of the other things that our activity offers. But my concern would be if you did it that way, nobody's going to spend $100 on something that they're not really sure that they want. Now, the flip side of that might be if you sold it piece by piece, like a class night, one night of lessons. If one night of lessons, you would normally charge, what do you normally charge for, if you averaged it out for one night of lessons for a couple? Yeah, for a person, doesn't matter. $650 per couple. Per person. Okay, so $13 a couple. So you got a price tag of $26 for a 2-hour square dance class or whatever, whatever it is, right? Well, if you want to take ballroom dancing, the only thing that they even begin to have an idea of the value of is ballroom dancing lessons, which is dramatically higher than $26 for one night of lessons, correct? So you could probably say, we're going to sell coupons for square dance lessons. They're $26 per lesson. You can buy as many lessons as you want, the half price at $13.50. The good news about that is that they'll buy it, they'll come to it, and if they come to your class and they're having fun, they'll pay the rest. And you'll give them the same deal because you're special. You could do that because they have absolutely no idea what the value is of our activity, right? Price is one of the 4 P's in the marketing plan: price, product, place, and promotion. Price has to do with what the value, it has to do with what your costs are, but it has a lot to do with what's the perceived value by the customer out there. And ballroom lessons have helped us a lot in making the perceived value of taking any class dramatically higher than what we are charging now. So don't be afraid to charge an appropriate fee for out in the market that the marketplace would demand. And then if you want to discount it, you can discount it. Yes. What time we at? Okay, so I got like 20 minutes, and I actually have stuff I want to present. So, Karen?
Karen here from Colorado. John forgot to say our April 1st date, we did this big push, and that was what the Google ads were for. But we included a free meal. We had free dancing, free meal. And like John said, we had no room. We had people that wanted to see what we were doing that were dancers, leaders and dancers, and they came out and there was no room for them to dance. We had no room, which was a nice problem for a change. But the food was a huge draw. So I think, and that's what we had on the site too. I did Facebook ads. I went ahead and spent the money on the Facebook ads. Besides creating a event page for Facebook, I went ahead and invested in, what did I spend, $50? A whopping $50. But we have 4 couples that signed up from the Facebook ads, 2 of which that are still in our class at this point. So I think it does pay. So it's already paid for itself in one time. So you have to think of alternatives. And our dancers brought the food. We provided some food, but our dancers wanted to see our movement continue, and they helped provide the food too. So food is a huge draw.
Thank you, Karen. Yeah, that's part of the product of one of those 4 Ps is the product, and our product includes whether we do or don't have food, whether we dance on carpet or on the hardwood floor, what kind of music that we're using, what clothes we wear, how many nights we meet a month or a week. All of those things are all part of the product of square dancing that we sell. Since this particular session is supposed to be about target marketing, I want to talk to you first about target. Okay, if you're trying to get somebody to take, and I'm gonna kick it over to square dance. If you're looking at trying to get somebody to take square dance lessons, then when you put together your plan on how you're going to go actively recruit those people, you have to first define who you want to go after. And the reason I say that is when I talk to a dancer, I say, well, who do you want in lessons? I'll take anybody. Of course we'll take anybody. We absolutely will take anybody. But if you have a class that wraps up at 10 o'clock at night, it's probably not likely that you're going to get a middle school-aged child to take your class because they got to be home and done with homework and in bed earlier. So you just need to figure out who that target is. Here's what you want to consider. Demographic. Now, I put geographic on here as well, and technically geographic is part of the overall term of demographics. Okay, demographics typically tend to do with age, gender, and geographic density. So, but I want you to look at geographic as just where around me do I want to go. Because if you're giving class in Larkspur, Colorado, it doesn't make a lot of sense for you to advertise for somewhere 150 miles away. So as you start looking at all of that information, okay? So age and gender, and then psychographic. What do they like to do? Okay? You really need to look at your product, in our case square dancing, and the things that people get out of it, and figure out who out there wants that. Because they don't want to square dance. Would you agree? They don't want to square dance, really. If you put the ad, newspaper gets slammed. I hate the newspaper, by the way, because I sell against it. The newspaper gets slammed because we put an ad in the newspaper and nobody showed up for our lessons. It's not because nobody saw the ad. It's because nobody wanted to buy the product. So we need to talk to them about what our product offers them, what the benefit is to them, and that's psychographic. What's their interest? What's their lifestyle? Are they into health? Are they looking for social? What is it that person's looking for? And then, once you know that information, and then what area do you really want to try and market to? For me and for my square dance classes, I can market to the entire city of Omaha because where I hold my class, typically no one has to drive more than about 30 minutes to get to where I'm at. So anybody in the marketplace of Omaha, Nebraska that wants to take square dance lessons can get to my class. If you're in Northern California, if you're in Northern California, if you're in the Bay Area, you may look at that and go, I can't hit the whole Bay Area because somebody from one side might have to drive 2.5, 3 hours to come take your class. So maybe geographically you need to look at a smaller area. The great thing about websites, we talked about how you can do the circle around your site. How many of you are Facebook fans? Okay? Please friend me. I don't have any. That's not true. But if you go on there and you say that you put in your profile things that you like, amazing things happen. I like woodworking. I used to do woodworking before children. And now, every time I go on my Facebook site, I get ads on the right-hand column about woodworking. Okay? So, if you sign up for Facebook ads, and I imagine Google would work the same way with their words, but if you sign up for Facebook ads and somebody said something about liking dancing, your ad is going to show up on the right-hand column of their page because the computer knows that they like dancing. Okay? There's another name for it, and I'm learning it. But that's a psychographic type of targeting. It's amazing what the computer can do. Okay, what I want to do is I want to kind of tie this into the marketing plan that we wrote and submitted to CALLERLAB in 2005. Literally, the plan was written, submitted to CALLERLAB. CALLERLAB sent it to the Arts. It's on the Arts website. I know Roundalab has reviewed it, and different organizations have pulled different pieces of it out to use, okay? It's too big in scope to use everything that's on it, so you kind of have to pick and choose some of the things. But I wanted to take this targeting thing and tell you how it relates. Would you be my timekeeper and make sure that I shut up if there's only 5 or 6 minutes left so we can ask questions? We're supposed to go to 3:45? I got 15. Okay, good. Okay, so I really got like 10 minutes. Okay, so here's the excerpts from the marketing plan. If you want to see that, you can either go to the Arts website or you can go to CALLERLAB. CALLERLAB just posted it literally to our site about 3 months ago. I don't know why it took 5 years and 3 months, but it's there. Okay? And if you go down, there's a lot of theory at the start about how you have to think about marketing first. As you get through all of that stuff, then you'll get down into what we call tactics. But what are you going to do? We are working in this next year to add all this internet stuff because in 2005 that was just sort of coming out at the time. So now we're going to work on that. Plus the cost is so dramatically less. So anyway, of those tactics of a new logo and a new slogan and a national website, by the way, I wanted to comment, the website that John built has a ton of the features that we described in that should be in a national website. There's also the new website, you2candance.com. It's YOU, the number 2, candance.com, and that was created by the Arts. It talks about 3 things. It talks about round dancing, square dancing, and contra. And it has video for each. It has caller and club listings on it. So Roy Gata, yeah, right. I think what she's saying is that was Roy that took that to the Arts to get that all put together. He's right here. Would you like to say anything about it, Roy? Okay, thanks. For the tape, he left the room a few minutes ago for some reason. Anyway, so I'm going to talk about radio, cable, and billboard because merchandise strategy is not so much demographic, geographic targeting. Documentaries, a lot of these others aren't so much so. But I have people that have asked me about using. I'll start with radio because that's what I actually do. If you wanted to use radio, how in the world are you going to figure out what radio station I would use? Well, first of all, you have to figure out who your demographic target is. So I know you guys have already read on this, so maybe you're following along, but let's make up a demographic target. You want to make one up? How about 50 to 55? Thanks, Eric. I'll give you a couple bucks later. You know what? I actually see two demographic groups that we could have some success with. I think that empty nester baby boomers are still a fantastic target for a couple of reasons. They'll dance with us. We are older than. This is Mike Hogan talking in general, not about Mike Hogan specifically. We are older than them. Okay? We're older than them. The average dancer is older than that empty nester baby boomer. Most of the dancers, their children have been out of the house for a little while. Not all of us, so I'm talking in general. But people have to feel like they can belong if they're going to dance with you. Okay? So I am, for the tape, 48 years old, and many of the dancers are my parents' age. Well, 48-year-olds don't want to dance with their parents. So I think that empty nester baby boomer, which is starting about where I'm at, up to about 55, 60 years old, somewhere in there is where all that happens. So we targeted it, we narrowed it so that we actually looked at the bullseye of the target and said 50 to 55-year-olds. Okay? If you want to go reach a 50 to 55-year-old and you want to use radio to do it, then you talk to your account manager at your radio station. They have all of the demographic profiles of all of the stations, and of course they're going to figure out one that they sell that fits for you. So make sure you ask them for the whole market. You want to look at every station in the marketplace. And they can break it up by age groups that they reach. So if you see on, unfortunately for the tape, I'll try to describe the chart. But the chart shows a radio format and then age groups of 12 to 24, 25 34, 35 44, 45 54, 55 64, and 65 plus. And that's what our software and radio gives us. So they can give you the percentage of the station's audience that's in each one of those basically 10-year cells, and you want to look at a couple of things. You can either look just totally at the 55 to 64. See, we don't have a 50 to 55. We don't have one of those in the software that the radio industry uses. So what I did is I took the 45 to 54 and the 55 to 64, and I pulled that together, and then, I know I just said we don't have it. We actually have a subscription element that we can do that'll narrow it down. So I looked first at that 45 to 65 and said, that's the best target, that group. Now, if we really want to narrow it down, I can get down into the 50 to 55. So if you go to the bottom part of, or the bottom graph here, you'll see that if you look at 45 to 64-year-olds, that 40 or 54.8% of a classic rock radio station's format listening audience is in that age group. That's really high to get 10 or 20 years and get over half of their audience right in that target. So do you want to spend money to reach people 25 to 34 if your target is 50 to 55? So you're going to want to pick a station whose composition is very high in the age group that you want to go after. You can also look at male versus female. Do we think the male's going to make the decision or the female's going to make the decision to square dance? Initially. We know later that there's one that's really pretty dominant about, we got to go, we got to go, we got to go, right? But initially, in my experiences, it's more females. So they can give you the male-female breakout. Okay. The other thing that you want to look at is it's kind of psychographic. Since most of us in the room are square dance callers, we got to take a look at what music we use. Okay. If we're using, and this is just my experience, we use a lot of what radio calls oldies. We're talking about, you know, Bebop-A-Lula and Mac the Knife. And we're also using a lot of classic country stuff. We're using some new country stuff. But the Beatles, give me some more. Neil Diamond. We have some Neil Diamond stuff, okay? There's a lot of music that we use that crosstabs with the same age group that we want to go after. And in this, at least in this world, oldies and classic rock are really strong in delivering the age group of 45 to 64, and even stronger when you narrow it down to 50 to 55. So you may have thought we should be using country music, because we do use a lot of country music. And you may have thought we should be using a country music radio station. The problem with most country music radio stations are that country does a real nice job of hitting all kinds of age groups. Okay? It's a popular format for lots of different ages. Now, if you have the money to do that, that might make some sense, because we do use country music. But if you look at just the demographic profiles, classic rock, oldies, news talk, and then contemporary Christian come in as the top 4 in total composition in our demographic target. And then if you look at the female side of it, oldies is more female than male. Classic rock is more male than female. So you might try an oldies station first. Now, country still does real well, because country is 60% female. And it's 340. You use that same theory if you wanted to buy cable. I love cable. Cable, my company didn't hear me say that, which is good. Cable is like radio with visual. Most folks who have an interest in certain types of programming will watch a certain sector of cable shows. For example, if you watch the Home and Garden Network, it's very likely that you also watch the Travel Channel. And it's also very likely that you watch, the Food Network. and those types of things, okay? And Hallmark and HGTV. And so what you do is you work with your rep from that particular media to determine all of the networks they have and give them the demographic profiles that you're looking for. And they can tell you the stations that are going to hit those people the best. And the same thing holds true, by the way, geographically. Most cable providers have their cities, especially the bigger the city is, broken up into geographic sectors. So in Omaha, I have 4 sectors that I can pick from. I might use all of them. But Council Bluffs, Iowa, is part of the Metro Omaha. It's right across the river. And the thing that we know is that there's an invisible wall that comes right up out of the river. It goes all the way up to the sky. And folks from Omaha don't go across to Iowa. And folks from Council Bluffs don't go across to Nebraska, with the exception of casinos. And that's just the way it is. So I can eliminate Council Bluffs from my target and save money. Okay? The last few pages on here, sorry, I'm dropping this thing, talks about using billboard, talks about using newspaper. Do you guys know the difference between branding and call to action? Let me help you with it. Okay. A brand is how you're known by your client, by your target audience. So what we know square dancing to be isn't necessarily what they know what square dancing to be. We've got all these websites that people can go to. If you're in Omaha and you Google search square dancing Omaha, because you usually search by a couple keywords in a geographic thing, you're going to get docado.com, you're going to get squaredancenebraska.org, and you're going to get squaredanceomaha.org. So I don't have to pay a fee to get on that first page, okay? Because if they're looking for square dancing, now they got to say square. If they say dancing Omaha, they might not get me on the first page. So they got to say square dancing. But if they do that, I know I'm going to be on the front page, okay? So I know they can find us if they're looking for us, but we get very few click-throughs to any of those sites from people that aren't square dancers because they're not looking for us. Right? We got to do a better job of building the brand so they know what we are and want to participate. And then, my nemesis, the newspaper, when you run your ad, if they want to participate, your ad then that says, come take lessons on Thursday night. Okay, come take lessons on Thursday night says nothing about square dancing and all the benefits and why you ought to and making you feel good about it. It's about react, do something now. That's call to action. Branding is all about who we are, what it's like to be a square dancer, who our people are, the benefits that we offer. So those are 2 things. If you've done a good job with your branding, you can educate people about who your business is and why they would want to participate, why they'd want to buy your product, and then you do the call to action. And that'll get results for you. You can mix them. You2candance.com. Roy. Talked about you while you're out, my friend. You2candance.com has a little of both. It's built first and foremost as a branding site. You go there, you can look. There's lots of great information. The marketing plan the element in our marketing plan that talks about a national website has all of that, of the pieces that you ought to include in your sites. Okay, so people can go in the privacy of their own homes, so they don't have to be embarrassed to tell their neighbor that they want to look into square dancing, because some people are like that. They can go and find out who we are, watch the video, and then if they're interested, they can find somebody and go, how do I get involved? Okay. So that's how you go about targeting a specific group. Make sure you know who your target is that you want to go after. I said at the start, I think there's 2 groups. I talked about the empty nester baby boomer group. The other group, I think, is the very, very young adult. And the reason I think that is because the very young adult is looking for an inexpensive place that they can go and have a lot of fun, have music. Now we're talking about more of the technical music, okay, instead of the old boomchuck stuff. So you want to use their music. But I see them as a group that if you can get them as a group, they will go and they will have fun and they will love this activity that they never thought for a minute that they would participate in. Just know that if you want to go after that group, that what that dance looks, feels, sounds like might be a little different. than what the dance looks, feels, sound like if you're going after the 50 to 55-year-old. It's matching your product with the likes of the target audience that you're going after. You raised your hand first. Dennis.
Dennis Clark again. Two things real quick. I learned this by accident, and I don't know if anyone else has experienced it, but I became an empty nester not too long ago. My son-in-law is somewhere around 26, and he is a very technical person, computer guy. And he and his wife were looking for an activity. My daughter were looking for something to get them out of the house, away from the kids, one night a week, and someplace where he could forget about everything else. And he decided to come to our lessons this last year. And after 3 weeks of lessons, he decided this was the perfect thing for him. One of the strange things about it, he hates Western clothes and he hates country music. But he absolutely loves the activity because it gets him out and gives him a relief from life.
Thank you, Dennis.
Paul Hansey, Chattanooga, Tennessee. I also am working in the same thing as color coaching. And the thing that I did in Chattanooga was I went to the university, target market. The phys ed department has got to have a lesson taught that's called rhythm and motion, music and motion, whatever. And they've got to incorporate dance and dance forms. I went to them and just said, I'll go for 2 weeks with you. I'll teach square dancing to these people. And at the end of this period of time, they will teach back to me. I'll give a grade. She puts it in with her average grades as it puts together. But I'll leave it with the people after we get through is that if you will teach this in the school system and teach it to the outside adult groups, I'll come in free of charge and do a square dance with them for 1 hour. These people have come back now for years and years and years, but you're interesting the people in the young groups because your universities are still using 78s and 33s, and they're not up to date. And once they see us do this, you just hit a new target, and it's working in Chattanooga.
Anyone else? Ken, you had something you wanted to add?
Very briefly, based on what I was talking about, I use Google Analytics for my website, and I find it fascinating. I just redid my website in the past year. I had somebody who, a square dancer out in California who does this for a living. Him and his partner have a great business, and they took a look at my existing website. They brought it up to speed, and they showed me Google Analytics, and now I go in periodically and check and see. You could see, how many hits per day your website is getting, which pages they've looked at, how long they've stayed on each page, where they're from by country, and then you can drill down by for example, United States. You might have had 68 hits. 15 of them might be in Texas, 20 might be in California. It's just fascinating to find out as you're marketing yourself as well, where you're getting some attention.
Internet's an amazing thing, and it's a tool that we're going to continue to work very hard to figure out how to take advantage of. Okay. All right. A nice hand for Ken Ritucci. And for John Herr. Thank you, guys. It is now time for, I think we have a beverage break. Enjoy your beverage. Enjoy the rest of the convention.